What's up, everybody? You're back in here. We got the Pro Football Pod, Hulk, Coach, hanging out with you guys. Subscribe down below. 500 subscribers. We're giving away a free jersey to one of you lucky viewers. Every 500 subscriber benchmark, we're giving away a free jersey. Tell your friends, tell your homies. Just tell everybody. You know, we're trying to give stuff away here, people. We're trying to help you guys. Help us help you. We got a special mock draft episode for you guys today, fantasy football style for, you know, all of our Pro Football Pod homies. Give you a little insight into what we plan on doing if we were at these spots for you. 10-team league. Coach, are you ready to dive into it?
Yep, I'm going to be picking at 3, and it looks like you're picking at 8, so we'll be able to kind of show both ends of the spectrum on what you'd be doing in these types of situations, so let's just hope that they don't take CeeDee Lamb by number 3.
Yeah, you know, the computer, it's a wild card.
It really is. So I'm going to just go ahead and start it up right now.
I'm hoping the computer doesn't go by like just the rankings, and it does give us some randomization to it. So we'll see how that goes for you.
They went Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb,
okay.
1 and 2. At this point, I think Christian McCaffrey is the safer pick. And it's early enough that you can still get 2 receivers in the second and third round that are going to be very solid, and then start to build out your other running backs maybe by like the 6th or 7th. So I'm going to go ahead and take Christian. I know he's questionable right now, but that's not a real injury concern for him.
Okay. And you've got the screen up there for the people, right?
I do. So it looks like perfect. Jefferson,
Bijan, JJ, Amon-Ra, Brees. Ooh, really wanted Amon-Ra to fall to me there. So I think for me, the easy pick right now would be we're gonna go Ja'Marr Chase. I think he gets the contract situation figured out. And if you go back and watch our award preview episode, we expect Joe Burrow to have a really solid season, so, you know, let's hope on Ja'Marr Chase there. A.J. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon, and then Jonathan Taylor. All right.
A lot of running backs just went.
So you know what that tells me? That tells me we're maybe going to wait on running back now, and we're just going to kind of play that game right there. So for me, I'm looking at Garrett Wilson or maybe Puka Nacua. Garrett Wilson, I'm having to hope on, you know, what Aaron Rodgers does with him, how that's looking. Little early for Puka here for me, maybe. I don't think I'm going to get him on the next wrap, so that's not going to be possible. We're going to go Puka Nacua right here. We're going to take Puka Nacua. So we got Ja'Marr Chase and Puka Nacua for the people.
So a lot of receivers just went. Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry have fallen to me. But like I said earlier, because I went running back, I really am wanting to go receiver here. It looks like Davante Adams, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Debo, Mike Evans are kind of the ones I'm looking at. It's still a little bit early to go quarterback. I'm going to go with the guy that's got the most target share in his offense. Mike Evans has competition. Chris Olave has, you know... I'm going to go Chris Olave. I think Davante Adams is a little bit overdrafted. He's got subpar quarterback play, and on top of that, like, he still has to deal with the two-headed monster at tight end, as well as Jacoby Myers, and it's Gardner and also... So I think Chris Olave probably would have been gone by the time I pick again. Davante Adams, Brandon Ayuk, Debo, Mike Evans are all still there. But a player that we've been talking about a bunch as a really good steal in the second round just fell to the third in Devon Achane. And if I just take him here, then I get to go receiver for basically the rest of the draft. Like, I won't have to look running back for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
That's the smart pick. Like, I knew he wasn't going to make it to me, and I highly considered him over Puka, even though it would have been a reach. But yeah, the ceiling's so high for that guy. So our first tight end came off the board here in the third round.
Yep.
And we've got a few wide receivers here for us. I don't think I'm gonna go tight end. I'm gonna pass on Kelsey, and I think we're gonna just triple up here at wide receiver again, and we're just gonna go Nico Collins. Like
Okay.
I've talked about him a lot in this offseason. I don't think Stephon Diggs coming in is really gonna affect him much. And the dude absolutely balled last year. I don't see it dropping off this year. Go ahead and give me the three-headed monster with Chase, Nakua, and Collins. Sounds like a law firm if you're asking me.
The only
And
player I might have liked in that position was Pacheco. I think Pacheco, right there at the end of the third, he has the opportunity to be a potential first round value at running back this year because of that offensive line being better, being more of a receiving back from what Camp's saying.
mhm.
So that's my
No,
only.
yeah, no, I totally get you. And I really thought about Pacheco, but when I decide to wait on a running back, I decide to wait on a running back.
I
So
hear that. I hear that.
yeah, we're just gonna see what happens there. I think it's still a little too rich for me on quarterback here as well. So on my overall players, let me see here. We could end up going tight end with Kelsey. I don't think it's time for that yet. And I think we're just gonna go ahead and solidify our nope. You know what we're gonna do, because he's not gonna be there whenever it wraps around, and I know he's gonna have a good season. I just talked about waiting on a running back, but let's go ahead and snag James Cook.
Okay.
I think James Cook's going to have a really solid year, and with him as my running back one, with the three-headed monster I have at wide receiver, I think we're looking all right there.
So I finally had some receivers fall into me. Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, DK, and Malik Neighbors are the next guys off the board. Of all of them, I want Jalen Waddle the most, not just because I'm a Dolphins fan, um, but also just because like Jalen Waddle. We were talking about it in our awards episode that we just dropped today as well. Tyreek Hill is not going to be fed the ball like he has been in the past couple years. They
Mm-hmm.
really are going to spread it between the two. They're paying him $28.25 million a year for a reason. And then the next most targeted guy on his offense at the wide receiver position. So Jalen Hurts is gone. We're in the fifth round. The next quarterbacks off the board are CJ and A. Richardson. If I'm being real, I'd really like for Richardson to fall to me in the sixth. So I don't really want to take a quarterback here. I'm going to start to fill in one of these two flex positions, and I'm going to go with Michael Pittman. I think Michael Pittman is very heavily targeted like he was last year. They paid the man to be the wide receiver one. Adonai Mitchell and Josh Downs are going to help him, and then JT, I think, is also going to help him a bunch. So Stroud goes right before you.
Ooh, yeah, Stroud went right before me. I don't know if I would have taken him there, but one player that I know I've talked about a lot this year, and I really don't think he's going to be there with the couple of tight ends we've seen come off the board. I'm going to take Trey McBride. Like I said, I don't think Marvin Harrison coming in, that doesn't scare me at all as far as what production value he can bring to you.
Yeah.
And at this point as well, I really hate to do it for you because of how you said you were hoping he'd make it to you. But
Yeah,
he's
I
not
had a
going
feeling you were
to.
going to take him.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson's coming off the board here for me in the sixth.
So because that happened, I'm absolutely going to wait on quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now that tier of guys is gone, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, and Anthony Richardson are the four quarterbacks I'm looking to take early. I want to take, Hurts and all those guys in the fourth, and then I really do want to wait for the sixth for Richardson, or at least until CJ Stroud's gone. I know that he could
Mm-hmm.
be the difference maker, but I need to solidify some of my wide receiver depth. So at this point, I'm kind of looking at doing whatever I need to do. The player that I really want to take is Evan Ingram, but I don't have to take him yet. I'm going to take him with my next pick. So at this point, it's best player available. And the best player available, I don't really need to take a running back because I took the two early. I would like to get some more wide receiver depth. I think Christian Kirk would be great, but because I want to take Evan Ingram, I think that I might hold off on that. Keenan Allen's sitting right there, and man, I know that Roma Dunze and DJ Moore are going to eat into Keenan Allen some. Because of that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Terry McLaurin.
Terry Mack.
Yeah. I know that everyone's been waiting for this guy to be like the solidified, wide receiver one. He finally has a quarterback that's going to be able to get him the ball often enough that he should be able to do it. Um, Joe Burrow's sitting there at quarterback. George Kittle's still available. A lot of tight ends have gone off the board. So I could take Joe Burrow right here. And I know I said I was going to wait on quarterback, but with what we've been talking about with his potential, I think Joe Burrow would be safe. Now that I've filled all my slots, my wide receivers, my running backs, and my flexes, if I take Joe Burrow, then all I really need is a tight end. So I'm going to take Joe and then really hope that Evan Ingram can fall to me. Kittle's still there.
Too bad. I'm going double tight end on you. So, yeah, looking at it here for me, as far as what I'm looking at, towards the flex positions, Christian Kirk is very intriguing because, we in this mock draft, we have 2 flex, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. So I'm not really forced on running back. I was kind of hoping David Montgomery or Swift would fall to me here. But because they did not, I'm not worried about that there. Adunze, Worthy, even Jaden Reed, like these are guys to where I don't feel as great about them if I have to put them in my starting lineup. So because of that, I'm going Christian Kirk. Like Christian Kirk, I would have been fine if he was my wide receiver 3. I've got him as my second flex position. We're feeling good about that right there. And then coming back on the wrap, what we're going to do is we're going to look at running back here. We've got Pollard, Chubb, Moss. And there's really a big drop off in running backs once you really get down into it. So this is just key for you guys. Like waiting on a running back is very risky in a 2 running back league. This is why I'm a fan of 1 running back leagues, but
Yes.
some people aren't fans of that. So with that being the case, I'm just going to go ahead and take Tony Pollard. Like I know he's going to come in and be the starter in Tennessee. And if he can hold off the young guy in Tajay Spears a little bit, yeah, he's my RB2, but we'll come back around and we'll get another running back here, and we're just going to play the carousel if we have to.
They just had a 60-40 split in the game that they just played. I know it was preseason, but if that type of usage shows up at all during the regular season, then Tony Pollard's absolutely a steal in the 8th round. Now, I got lucky that whenever you were picking, every team except for one in front of you had their tight end already. So that's one of the benefits of waiting for Evan Ingram is you can get him in around like the 8th round. And all of my starters are solidified at this point except for my tight end. And Evan Ingram was the most targeted tight end with the most receptions last year. So getting him in the 8th round and then being able to wrap around and potentially take one of these running backs, I think that's huge. Rashee Rice is still there. But if we look at the running backs that are still available, Javonte Williams, Jaylen Warren are 2 very interesting prospects. I don't think Zach Moss is worth taking. Even if you plan on taking Chase Brown in a round or 2, I think that Zach Moss is probably still just, like, you don't really want to go back-to-back on a running back duo in the same team in 2 rounds back-to-back. Like, you'd rather just bet on which one's going to be the guy. So I'm going to go Javonte. I think that he has his job locked up. And Jaylen Warren does have a bit of a split. He was very efficient with the ball last year. But this will give me a little bit of backup so that if Devon Achane does get hurt or if something happens to McCaffrey, then I do still have a 3rd running back. Won't necessarily be a starter for me, but my bench is starting to fill out now.
Okay. I like that. Still a lot of tight ends on the board. Tight end is absolutely the one position where you can afford to wait because you've still got Njoku, Bowers, Ferguson all on there for you. Now, this to me is the part to where you can take some reaches at this point in the draft because it's one of those to where you're going off of maybe your own projections, like how you personally feel about a player, because you're looking at it here and it's like, all right, I've got my whole starting offense filled out. Now we're just filling out the bench. So whenever I go to that, I'm not necessarily looking at another quarterback again this early. So I'm going to start looking at people that might spark my interest a little bit. And one guy that absolutely sparks my interest, if he can stay healthy and if the reports coming out that the work he was doing in the offseason to repair his past lingering injuries, absolutely give me Christian Watson.
Yes, I agree. I think the only player I would have maybe looked at before Christian is Deontay Johnson. He's just, and he's still there for you right now, but he's going to be the most targeted person on his team. Canales is already saying that he's the wide receiver one. So I really, really like the Deontay. But now you get to go back to back wide receiver if you're feeling clever, and you can take him right now. I think that he's probably the best player on the board for me right now. Keon Coleman, some of these guys, they just have a lot of boom or bust potential to them. Jackson Smith is like the second or third target on his team. I want guys that are going to get the ball the most often, and that's the dude for me.
So right now, and this is one of those situations to where I didn't want to, but because he's fallen 2 rounds later than I expected at this point, I'm actually going to go ahead and pull the trigger on Jordan Love as insurance for Anthony Richardson.
I like that.
You know, God forbid Anthony Richardson goes out. I have a guy that played the whole season last year. And I have a guy with a solid enough offensive line and a solid enough coach to scheme up some plays for him. I feel pretty good about having Jordan Love as my quarterback too. And I don't have to look at quarterback the rest of the draft.
So there are some running backs that I like Tyjae Spears, but like we just said a couple rounds ago, Tony Pollard's getting more of the share right now, so he doesn't really have as much value. I also just went running back, so I'm really think I'm going to go wide receiver. You have the rookie and Keon Coleman, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brian Thomas, Jameson and Cortland. I think Brian Thomas... I am not a huge fan of Trevor Lawrence, and I feel like he's been really, really bad for fantasy the last couple years. Brian Thomas is going to be the third best option on his team, but I think he's just so explosive of a player that he really has the opportunity to become the guy. If Keon Coleman didn't have Josh Allen, the greediest quarterback in the league, as his quarterback, and there was a chance that he gets a touchdown in the red zone this season, then I think maybe Keon Coleman would be worth it. But I don't know. Between Brian Thomas and I think Jameson Williams is the other guy I really like, I'm talking myself into it. I'm going to go Jameson Williams here. I think it's a little bit early for him, but it's not too early. It's like you said, get people that you really like. He's not going to be targeted as heavily, but his boom potential as a player is really high. And they've just been talking him up all season, all off season.
They've got to get some more help for Amon-Ra out there. So they're hoping, they spent a top 10 pick on the guy or a top 15 pick. Like, yeah, make the next step and, go get your bag.
So my next pick, similar to the way that you picked a backup plan for Anthony Richardson, I'm not going to pick a backup plan for Joe Burrow. But there's still one rushing quarterback that's on the board, and he's a rookie, and people really don't know what to expect from him, and that's why he's falling into the 11th or 12th round. I don't know if he'll fall all the way to me in the end of the 12th, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on Jaden Daniels because my roster is already so balanced. I've got a great tight end. I've got 5 wide receivers and 3 running backs. I only need to start at most 4 receivers and 2 running backs. So Jaden Daniels just seems like a very boom potential. He could end up being a Lamar Jackson's rookie year or second year type of a player. He's already the starter.
I like that. I like that pick. So a couple quarterbacks did end up going after you took Jaden. So good call there. He wasn't going to make it back to you probably. And then, so what we're going to do on this one is, you mentioned Brian Thomas. I do like the boom potential there, but like you said, at best, he's going to be the third receiving option on his own team.
Yeah.
Trey Benson's a rookie. Don't know how I feel about that for him at this point right now in the draft. Cortland Sutton we're looking at. I do like the prospect of Chase Brown. and that's one guy that I'm maybe looking at. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to take Brian Thomas and then hope for a certain little thing to be there on the next pick here. All right, Tajay Spears went, so that's what I was kind of not looking forward to there. So now I'm between Blake Corum, Chase Brown, but what I'm really going to do is Jerome Ford.
Yes, I like that a lot.
We've talked about it, and we talked about it earlier in our running back preview series as well. Like, Jerome Ford is going to come in, and he's going to be the starting running back for at least the first 6 weeks or more of the season. And then even then after that, it's how healthy is Nick Chubb ready to, like, is he ready to go? So because of that, I'm getting a starting running back that's going to get all the carries for his team in the 12th round.
So Cortland Sutton is the number 1 wide receiver for Denver. Being able to get him in the 12th round sounds good. Curtis Samuel was someone I was looking at potentially taking. You can get him later than Keon Coleman. He plays from the slot a lot, but he's also able to play outside. He's more of a veteran guy. Romeo Doubs, in my opinion, is the second most targeted player. In preseason so far, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs have been out there in 2 receiver sets, and Jaden Reed has not. And he is way higher up on the board, going in the 9th round. So, of all those options, A.D. Mitchell still there. I'm going to go Romeo Doubs, just because I think that they have a better offense. Bo Nix and what he's going to be able to do isn't really solidified as much as Jordan Love. And I would want to have one of his 2 targets. And if what you bet on with Christian Watson in the 9th round doesn't work out because he gets hurt again, then Romeo Doubs is the first person that benefits from that. I don't think that happens. I love taking Watson. I was hoping Watson fell to me in the 10th round because I was 100% going to take him over Jaden Williams.
Jameson Williams, yeah. So we had Goff, Curtis Samuel, Justin Herbert, Pat Freiermuth go.
So I was looking at maybe trying to get a running back, and there is still one running back that looks like he's going to be the number 1 option on his team in Rico Dowdle. We also have Jalen Wright, who is very much a boom potential. We would need Devon Achane to get hurt, but I have Devon Achane. So if Devon Achane does get hurt, then I basically still have Devon Achane. I think in some ways almost a better version. What he's done in the preseason this year has been a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah. That reminds me of the Family Guy clip where like, no, don't open the box. It's like, but it could be an RV, but we already have an RV. But it could be a new RV.
So between Rico Dowdle and Jalen Wright, I think Rico Dowdle's the safer pick. If I didn't have Devon Achane, I would go Rico Dowdle right now. But because I do have the other running back, I don't mind having this guy sit at the end of my roster in the hopes that Devon never gets hurt. But if he does, then I've got a backup plan that's ready to go. He's obviously going to be able to start. He looks so good in the preseason already.
Oh, so fluid. Like, just smooth. I like the pick there. So, coming back around to me, and A.D. Mitchell went 1 pick before me, so in a real draft, I'd be throwing things, because I really wanted to try to pair him up with Anthony Richardson in case that comes to fruition towards the end of the year for you. Just love having a stack when possible. So, because of that, now we're going to pivot. I do want another wide receiver on my team. We've got Jacoby Myers, and, you know, we talk about how Minshew likes to feed one wide receiver predominantly, so you know that's going to be Devontae Adams, and if it's not Minshew, it's Aiden O'Connell. How much do I trust him being able to feed the ball to Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Devontae Adams? Like, I don't know how I feel about that. So we're going to cross him out there. At this point, just for the simple fact of what he could possibly give you, I'm going to take Josh Palmer.
Love it.
Because of the relationship he already has with Herbert, and they just need a wide receiver to step up. And at this point in the draft for me, he's just becoming insurance. We've got 2 more picks after this.
So before you go, I just want to point out, at this point, there have been no kickers or defenses taken before Justin picked, and he didn't even think about taking Justin Tucker. If you're watching this and you're trying to get advice on a mock draft, don't look at kickers. Don't even draft a kicker. I'm not going to. I might take a defense with my last pick, but I'm likely to just try to pick up some extra value, wait for these final camp cuts to happen, and see what the target share is going to look like, and then drop one of my last couple picks and pick up a kicker right before the game starts on Sunday for the opening week.
Yeah, and then that's where, all you're doing at that point is just playing the game with, wheeling in and out of your kickers. For me, I am going to draft a kicker because we have a kicker on our roster, and I like to draft one because there is a significant difference of I've just seen so many games, especially back in the day with the Patriots and their kicker. I do not know why the name is absolutely blanking. Gostkowski.
Yeah.
Gostkowski on my roster single-handedly won me multiple games because of just what he was able to do. So because Tucker already went, I'm going to take Evan McPherson. McPherson for the Bengals. We know that they trust him, and we know he's got the boot, and we've seen it in his rookie season where he was clutch enough in the playoffs for him. I feel good about it. Give me McPherson. Don't need to go into it too much. It's a kicker.
So, because this huge run on kickers just happened, and I know that there's going to be a couple defenses taken off the board before I pick next, I'm going to go ahead and pick my defense here, and then I'm going to pick another offensive player that I just think could potentially, show up for us in these last couple weeks before the season starts. So, between San Francisco, the New York Jets, and the Baltimore Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens just lost it was the assistant head coach. They still do have their defensive coordinator, but I feel like they've lost some pieces this year. Like they had to let Patrick McQueen go, whereas the Jets and the 49ers have only just kind of added more pieces and gotten better. Between those two, I think that the Jets, because their offense should be, I don't know. It's hard to say that their offense is going to be better. I think I might go San Fran here. It's the safest possible option if you're going to take the first defense off the board. The Jets have a little bit more boom potential, I think, in Sauce Gardner and just like the pick sixes and scoring touchdowns, that type of thing. But San Fran's just a safer option. So at this point,
you got your final pick right here.
Every team except for me has picked a kicker, and that's part of why I don't want to take a kicker. We were just talking about how Jacoby Myers is, a great potential option. Jerry Jeudy, Xavier Legette, Rashid Shaheed, like a lot of these guys are going to be on starting rosters at some point throughout the season. Other players are going to get hurt, like things are going to happen. So if I was going to pick one player that I think has the best opportunity to absolutely show out week one, I think it would be Jacoby Myers. If we look at the kickers that are still left, I mean, Tyler Bass is still there.
Now, the thought process with kickers, too, that I do understand with what you're saying here, and this really plays into a factor of, too, if you're doing one of your drafts before the preseason starts or in the summertime, which if you do, you're a psychopath. You just got to wait. I always wait until the last week of the preseason or the week in between that we have, just so I have all information possible. But in a 10, even 12 team league, if you wait on a kicker, unless somebody takes multiples, you're still going to get a top 15 kicker in the league.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you still got a serviceable guy. So I do understand the theory behind it. Now, me being at the end of the draft here, defenses are looking kind of sketchy here for me. And I got the Cowboys here because of the turnover potential as well. And, you know, we're
You're
just
on the clock. I took Jacoby Myers. Time was counting down, so I just picked the player that I wanted. I just think he has the most potential. He's the second most targeted guy on his team. He's you know, a solid pick. I'll probably end up dropping him. I'm not going to drop Jameson Williams or Romeo Doubs most likely, and I'm definitely not dropping Jalen Wright because someone will pick him up.
Yeah, agreed. So to me, it's kind of an easy point at this point for my defense. I'm just going to go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs had one of the best defenses in the league last year, and yes, they lost L'Jarius Sneed, but I mean, I don't want to say like I don't think that's going to matter too much, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. Like, I think their defense is still going to be solid enough to where at this point in the draft, it's fine for me to go ahead and take them. We got our mock draft done. I feel great about the team at where I was picking at 8. Helped me realize in one of these drafts, I do want to kind of pick more towards the top 6 with the way the board was falling a little bit there for me. So I'd feel better about that. But, you know, when you're on the squad, we're all going to work together.
We both basically picked 3 running backs. I have a 4th, but he's literally just an insurance policy.
Insurance, yeah.
We also both picked a lot of receivers. I have 6 receivers. You took 3 in the first 3 rounds, and you took 7 total receivers, right? Yeah, because you took 1 less running back.
Let's see. I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 total receivers.
I love your Jerome Ford pick late. Him or Chase Brown are 2 guys that I'm absolutely trying to take. I can't believe that Jerome Ford
Chase Brown, the only reason I stayed away from him was because of Zach Moss. Yeah. And I want to see how that backfield would shape out throughout the year. I feel better about Chase Brown than I do Zach Moss if I had to pick between the 2.
Yep.
But that's why I went with Ford, is because, like I said, he's getting all the starting nods. So, hey, if you like what we did, if you think we're absolute idiots, we could care less, go ahead and throw it down in the comments section below. Hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, tell your families. We're trying to give away jerseys out here. We want to help you guys. At @ProFootball_pod on the Twitter machine. At TulsiRoseTea.com is the sponsor. Hit them up. See what they can do for you. We love you guys. Peace out.